join me here in the town of Crewe, which owes much of its history to the railways. Ever since construction of the West Coast Main Line in the 1830s, this Cheshire town has been dominated by the railway industry, with numerous sheds, yards and depots surrounding the area. One of these, Crewe Works, was responsible for the construction of thousands of steam, diesel and electric locomotives across a period of over 150 years. One such example of this was the Class 43 high-speed train. The Class 43 high-speed train has been a common sight across the British railway network for decades, having entered service in 1976 following development of the prototype. However, despite being 45 years old, many of these trains still see use today, in parts of the southwest, Scotland and on cross-country routes. Yet, over the last few years, these trains have slowly been phased out for more modern alternatives, though these retirements have not been without fanfare and celebration, with the application of heritage liveries and specially organised farewell tours. As these locomotives come towards the end of their working lives, a number of these Class 43s are beginning their journey into preservation. The Crewe Heritage Centre, located not far from the original works, is home to numerous items related to the town. One of these, recently acquired, is this, 43018, and I had the opportunity to speak to Brian Porter about this locomotive's restoration and story.
I started here just over 13 years ago. The main project I look after is the APT. This one's just a side project for when it started, for when it come on site. We actually donated to us off Angel Trains last October. It's from Haymarket Depot in Scotland. Then I don't think it ever run in Scotland. I think it just used up there for spares. Yeah. And that's what they did then, stripped it down and we was offered this power car and we just took it. It was one of the first ones to be preserved, but what we got was basically just an empty shell. It'll never run again, never start again. It's a long-term restoration project. When it first came onto site and we saw the state of it, I immediately approached the management here. I said, well, can me and James actually do something with it, try and make it a bit more presentable? He says, yeah, by all means, try something, just do anything. So first of all, we started with the lights, which James had actually wired up and they actually work. And then we worked on the process of putting the guards windows back in, both sides and on the rear. We're attempting next to redo the cab back to how it originally was. So basically we'll be stripping out one side, which is up to date, and putting it back to how it was. So after we fitted all apart, we just decided then to repaint it and put it back to its original condition, which is what we've done now. Yeah. We've done quite well actually, it's done really, really well.
Well, originally we weren't sure what we were going to get because we didn't have any photos of the power car and the condition it was in. All we knew that it was missing 4 traction motors and an engine. So when it arrived with no headlights, we weren't really expecting that, and they were removed by ScotRail to keep the spares float for their fleet. So we decided to go with the original variant of the headlights, which I recreated using various spares we had off Class 86s, and also some car parts, as for the main headlights, but they are the same make as what was on them originally. We had some original drawings from Crewe Works of the original headlight covers, so I was able to simply draw those out in AutoCAD and send them off to get laser cut. So we have an acrylic frame and a Perspex cover. So obviously we had to form it to fit the shape of the front, which was pretty easy using a heat gun. So at the moment, the way we've got these set up is we've got a 110 volt yellow tool transformer powering our 110 volt bulbs. These are wired directly onto 2 switches on the cab desk, which simply on-off for the 2 marker lights and on-off for the 2 tail lights. I've always been interested in HSTs, I've always quite liked them. So when it originally arrived, I saw it as an opportunity to kind of put this dream of mine of recreating this setup into practice.
I can remember seeing them all over the network. Yeah, it's not something that you took any notice of at the time. Obviously, when you see them there, you don't expect them to be withdrawn so soon. But I mean, they've done really well over 45 years. But yeah, I can remember them really well. I can remember when they first came out as well. So that's the colour I mainly remember, is that colour. So I was quite pleased when I picked that one. We're in the cab of the power car now, and what we've actually had to do in here is replace most of the stuff All this section is scratch built. All that panel was actually missing. That was missing as well, and so was the gauge in there. All these panels was all off, and it was all in the storage room behind. That panel was also missing, which has also been scratch built. These switches here operate the headlights on the front. These obviously don't do anything at all. Neither do any of these. All these are actually 3D printed. These are gauges from another locomotive. That is 3D printed, and that is 3D printed as well. These are also 3D printed buttons. There's another two got to be made. What we're going to do is replace all this panel, put it back to the original type as it first built, which will be using these type of lights. These are originally lights, and two more gauges. We will get rid of all this. This will be gone. This will be just covered over then with an aluminium sheet with these fastened on. That should make that then complete as though it was when it was first built, which will then match the outside. When we first had this, it was basically as it is now, completely empty, but there was no roof, so it was open to the elements. Loads of scrap metal lying around everywhere, where they've stripped all the engine out, the power unit, everything what was in here is gone. Eventually we want to get an original roof, because this one here is just temporary with an aluminium sheets. Then we want to probably board all the sides off and make this into like an exhibition area. This is a long-term plan. Also, we want, if we can, is to fill most of this floor with concrete or concrete blocks to put the weight down a bit, because this is actually about 3 inches too high and it's really light. We makes it really awkward to push around site. We can't go fast over points. If it does, it'll derail. So when we put the concrete floor in, we'll put lino or vinyl, whatever it is on the top. Boards along the sides. Those grills there will also be blocked off to stop the drafts, and we'll put a display in here. It'll be a history of this power car and in general the HSTs themselves, like the 45 years service, when they was built in Crewe, how many was built, what happened to them, how many have been preserved, that sort of anything to do with the history of the HST, but mainly concerning this power car itself. I mean, we've got a hell of a lot of work to do. I mean, it's all got to be cleaned in here. Everything you touch is black, which is understandable really, because this was the power unit room, you know, so it's all got to be cleaned down and boarded off. If we can, put back the guards compartment itself, which is why we've got the windows back outside on the back side of it. We want to put that back to how it was when it was first built as well. But this side, where there used to be the cages, that will be like a small display area as well. What we'll put in that part, we're not too entirely sure yet, but that's what we're intending to do with that. That'll probably be our next project after we finish the outside. So that won't be too far away.
You'll be glad to sort of see the back end of this once this is done then?
I don't know, it's been something different. Oh, okay. It's been something different. Yeah, I've enjoyed it actually, I've quite enjoyed it, yeah. Makes a change for what I usually do. I'm usually working on about 6 or 7 coaches at a time, which is the APT. Yeah. But this one, I'll spend more time on this, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So it'll put more of an effort in. It's got its own Facebook page, and any updates are always put on there so people can keep track of what's happening. So yeah, it's doing really well.
So there we have it, 43018, one of the Class 43 high-speed train power cars. A personal favourite of mine. I'll see you next time. It's not going anywhere.